Have you ever wanted to incorporate sugar flowers into a Halloween cake but weren't quite sure how? Today we're going to make sugar roses with a spooky twist. They're going to have an eyeball in the center. All right, let's do it. Hey, I'm Alexandria from Finespun Cakes. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Head down to the description box below and grab all the tools, equipment, and everything you'll need for this entire sugar flower tutorial. And lastly, share this with a friend who also loves making cakes. Okay, let's get to the video. We're gonna start with 22 gauge wires and we're gonna cut these into quarters because we don't need a long stem for these roses. Now we are gonna make a hook on the end of these and close that hook. I've got some white gum paste here and I'll put some shortening onto my hands so that it doesn't stick. Giving this a quick knead before we try and shape it. Once it's nice and smooth, we can go ahead and make our centers. These are the 3 cutters that we're going to use. So I believe these are 50, 60, and 70 millimeters. I'm gonna link these in the description box below so you can check out the exact sizes though. The size we wanna make for our centers is going to be around the size of one of these petals, maybe just slightly smaller. I'll grab one of our hooked wires and dip that into water or gum glue. Wipe off the excess on the back of my hand and then just insert that into our ball of gum paste. Just reshape that and make sure it is nice and secure there. And allow that to dry overnight. And it's totally okay if some of these are slightly different sizes. They definitely don't have to be all the same. In fact, it probably looks better when they're all a little bit different. I've tested a Grape Violet from Sugar Flare and Deep Purple as well. So I've just kneaded a little bit of those colors into white gum paste. And I do like both of these. I think I'm gonna do half and half because this one has a nice blue tint and then this one has a more deep violet color. And I think they would both look nice on the cake. So let's go half and half with both. I'd say we need about a handful for each color. So let's start with the Grape Violet. I'll just knead that piece in that I've already colored and then just add a nice dollop of that. Usually what I would do to color gum paste is make a master color, and all that means is making a saturated piece of color just like these ones that I've made here, and then knead small amounts of that into the white. But since I want a really saturated purple color, I can go ahead and knead it straight in. So this is actually pretty good. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more to deepen that, but since we're gonna be dusting it later, we don't have to have it really, really dark at this point. This looks perfect. So you see there's a really nice contrast now between our white eyeballs and the purple petals. So I'll go ahead and color the other half of my gum paste deep purple. Now that I've let the eyeballs dry completely, I left these for 2 days instead of just 24 hours because some of them are a little bit bigger. We are ready to paint them. I'm gonna do 2 separate colors. The first color is gonna be a red iris, so we're gonna use red as the main color. We're gonna have burgundy as a kind of an accent color. Also, we'll need black for the pupil. And the second color we're going to be doing is a yellow eyeball, which I thought would look nice in contrast to the purple petals that we're going to be putting around. Because yellow is the complementary color to purple, so it'll really stand out. The main color we're going to be using is egg yellow. I'm also going to have a little bit of lemon yellow just in case. It's a bit brighter than the egg yellow, which is quite warm. And then also spruce green as an accent color. I also have some vodka here, and this is just going to be to dissolve the color into the palettes. And I have a bunch of small paintbrushes. These are really cheap ones, just off Amazon. I'm sure you could use better quality ones, but these will do just fine for today. Let's start with lemon yellow over here. And I'm putting the colors kind of up the side so that I can use the center of the palette to dilute each of the colors. Next, we will add the egg yellow, which, as I mentioned, is warmer, a little bit more on the orange yellow side. Lastly, for the colors is spruce green, just a touch of that. I don't think we're gonna need a lot. And black for the pupil. And we don't wanna dilute this one too much because we want it to stay pretty true black and not turn into gray for the pupil. Let's dilute our colors with vodka, and we use vodka instead of water because it dissolves faster and it's less likely to start dissolving your gum paste as you're painting it on and waiting for it to dry. I'll put a few spritzes into each of the wells. I'm going to begin by outlining the shape of the iris, which is just a circle. So let's use our lightest color here and a very diluted version of it so that we can slowly build out the shape. And if we make a mistake, it's much easier to correct with the lightest color. And the way you would correct a mistake is just getting some plain vodka and brushing that on with a clean brush, and it should clean it right up. And also make sure, as you're painting it, you're looking straight down onto the eye so that your iris isn't off center. So I do like this. I think it just needs a little bit more on this side to make sure that it's even all the way around. So this is our egg yellow. I'm adding a bit more of the color into the vodka to make it slightly darker. So we want to keep the middle fairly light yellow. Then we'll build out the darker color here and here. So we've got our basic colors down, and I want to add a brighter yellow into the middle. And I can also start blending the colors together a bit. Then after that, what we want to do is start creating those lines like you see in an iris, and that will help blend the colors as well. So make sure you're using a wet brush for this. Next thing I'm going to do is add some green on the very outside, which is really going to make the iris part stand out. And we'll add some kind of little veins going inwards as well. I want to keep this green pretty dark. Just go right on the edge, being as delicate as possible with that line. And then kind of making little creepy lines inwards as well. We're also going to go around where the pupil is going to be. The first one you make is going to be pretty slow, but as soon as you finish one, you'll get the hang of it. All right, that looks pretty creepy. Next, let's add some of our black for the pupil. We want to keep this as saturated as possible, so all I'm going to do is wet my brush in here, and that will help the food coloring loosen up a tiny bit without diluting it. So I've got some black here. Let's just put that right into the pupil. Perfect. I think this eye is looking great. Let us do the rest of the yellow ones and then we can move on to red. So let's start with our red. And keep it a little bit lighter as opposed to using a more saturated color. I think it helps it pop a bit more. So we outlined our iris. Now let's go in with our accent color, which is that burgundy, nice dark burgundy. Go along the entire edge, just like we did with the green. And if it's a little too thick, just dip your brush into the vodka and mix around the really saturated area of your color. Then we'll do our lines going towards the pupil. And lastly, the pupil. Awesome. So I'm gonna finish up these last 3 red eyeballs and then we can get to adding the petals. As soon as all of my eyeballs were completely dry, I brushed those with confectioner's glaze to give them that glossy finish. I keep my confectioner's glaze in an empty nail polish bottle and just carefully brush that on, being sure with the first layer that you go over it pretty quickly so that the color doesn't start smudging, and then you can go over it a couple more times until it has that nice shiny finish.
This is part 1 of a 2-part video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the second part, which will be out tomorrow. I will link it here in the video and in the description box below as soon as it's out. I'll see you there.